Today is day 4 of chapter 12, and this is the last day of the stuff we are learning in chapter 12. So remember that you will have that quiz thing tomorrow. So as long as you work well today and that kind of stuff, we will talk about that quiz in a little while. The first thing is, if you look at this, hopefully you notice that it has a subtraction sign. So when you look at your conic sections, and we're looking for the one that has the subtraction sign, that is a hyperbola. And you know that it's going to look like this. Just so that you know how this was created, is it's actually created by the box that is your A and B, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to create the box, we're going to create our asymptotes, and then we draw our hyperbola. Alright, so the first thing is, how do I know how far out I go on my x's? What do I have to do with 25? Square root. So I'm going to take the square root of 25, which gives me 5. I'm going to count out 5 on both of my x's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm just going to put a tick mark. And then I'm going to do the same thing the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and put a tick mark. Yes, always. Then we are going to look at our B, and we have here, it says 36. So how far up on my Y am I going? 6. So I'm going to go 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, put a tick mark. And then go 6 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anybody not know how I got those tick marks? Hopefully on your paper you can see that the tick marks are on a line. So you are actually going to follow this line and create a rectangle with both of them. So you're creating a rectangle. Yes, it's dotted. Alright, so we have here, now we have to connect the corners. So since we all don't have rulers, I'm just gonna take my paper, and you're connecting the corners, and you are drawing a line that is connecting those corners, and it's also dotted. It's okay if you made it solid. It's not the end of the world. Alright, anybody not have their lines or their rectangles? Now, once you have your lines and your rectangles, I need everyone to look up here. Your lines have to extend past your box, just so you know, but I want you to see why. So I want everyone to stop for a second and just watch for one quick second. This is your vertices, so that's my vertex of my hyperbola. Your hyperbola is going to follow your asymptote. So it's going to follow this. And an asymptote, remember, it goes close to it, but it never crosses it. So that's why we are creating that. So it goes on both sides. So it follows it, but it never crosses it. It never touches it. Only place it actually touches is right there at that vertice. And this is that is your hyperbola. That is where your hyperbola is. However, that is how you draw your hyperbolas. Once you get better at it, sometimes they don't do the boxes, they do the asymptotes first, but most of them do the boxes first. So, anybody not have that? Alright, so we have here, it says that the asymptotes is, because it says, and state the asymptotes. So underneath it, we're going to state the asymptotes. It says the asymptotes is y is equal to plus or minus b over a x. So y equals plus or minus b. What is b? 6 over a. What is a? 5. and then we put an x. So we have plus or minus 6/5. All right, I want you to try to do the second one. Do the same exact thing. See if you can draw it and do the asymptotes. Will pen work? I don't. I have to buy some. Stop. The pterodactyl. Got it. So hopefully you went out 2 on your X's and 4 on your Y's.
Oh, I thought it was 6. I wonder where you got a calculator. Okay. Well, I didn't write it with 6.
Yep, that's right. And then you connected your corners.
You got it. Yeah. I guess that was pretty superfluous of me. Really? No. Really bad fun.
Alright, and then remember your vertex. Ladies and gentlemen, remember there's no side conversating. Your vertex right here is where we start and we follow our asymptotes.
Is the vertex always on that axis or can it be on the y-axis?
The reason it is, well, for algebra 2 it's always going to be, but see how our x is first? That tells us it's on the x-axis. If in college or if you go on, if the y comes first, then it would have been on the y-axis. But in algebra 2, we always put the x, we always just do the 1. But if the y would come first, it would be on the y-axis. Yep, good question though. All right, so on these ones, yes, they'll all be on your x-axis because the x's are coming first. Really quickly, if you have, looking at this last one, what is on the bottom of these? A 1. So remember, when you're doing it, you want to make sure you do it as a 1. Now, that is one type of hyperbolas. The other type looks like this. Oops, we forgot to do our asymptotes. Our asymptotes is plus or minus b, which b is 4 over a, which is 2x. So you have y is equal to plus or minus 2x. And if you look at it, if you look at your lines, if you start at the center 0, you go rise over run, you're going up 2 over 1, so that is actually the line that you created. Yes.
For like the next asymptote question thing, since the x is like larger than the.
Are you talking for these? Or this one?
Yeah, number 3.
This one.
Yeah.
This.
Would it be like the?
It's always going to be y equals. It's always going to be y. Your asymptote is always y equals plus or minus b over a.
Okay. So then, would we still draw it like this, or would we draw it like?
Are you talking your hyperbola? Your hyperbola is always going to be off the x-axis because x is first. So when we're doing this, you're still going to go 4 and 3. So you're still going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. and then you'd go 3, 1, 2, 3. Just your box is smaller or like different, but you're still connecting. You still do the exact same thing. It just will make it wider, or shorter, I should say. So you're still gonna go here. If you are waiting for me, ladies and gentlemen, you can draw some more of these because these are all due tomorrow. So you can keep going if you're just sitting there. But we're gonna go to the next type. But I was asked a question.
Stuff on the back will work too?
Yep.
Oh, raw.
You're gonna get it. Hopefully, most of it done before class is out.
I can have my paper back.
So, and then it's still gonna be here. Yep.
Okay.
The thing that makes it on the x-axis is that x is first.
Okay.
Yep. And that's the only type we're going to do in Algebra 2.
Alright.
Yep. All right. And so on your asymptotes, it would still be y is equal to plus or minus b, which would be 3 over a, which is 4x. All right. Now with that said and done, let's now go down to the bottom one. xy equals k is a hyperbola like this. And I don't know if you remember, but we actually did this when we did your varies inversely. We did y equals k over x. And that's exactly the same formula, because if you divide by x, you get y is equal to k over x. So it's the exact same thing. But the only thing you have to do is remember how to draw it is you want to find the vertices. So the vertice of this would be the square root of 8. Because the square root of 8 times the square root of 8 is 8. So the square root of 8 is 2.8. So that means I'm going to go 2.8 and 2.8 and plot that point. And then I need at least 2 more points. So what other numbers gives me 8? What times what gives me 8?
4 times 2.
4 times 2. So I'm going to go 2 and 4. So I'm going to go over 2, 1, 2, up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a point. And 4. So I'm doing the point 4, 2, and then 2, 4. So I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And I'm also connecting those dots.
Can you just pick whatever point you want?
Well, as long as the two numbers add up to 8. So you could have done 1 times 2, or 1 times 8. So you're picking 2 numbers that multiply together to give you 8. And now you have to do the negative. So I'm going to go negative 4 times negative 2 gives me 8. And then I'll do negative 2 and negative 4. And your vertice, again on this side, would be your negative 2.8, negative 2.8. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then my 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And then we have 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I connect those points. And if you look at it, also, your asymptotes of these are always your x and y axes, or y equals 0 and x equals 0. But I'm just going, because it says, what are your asymptotes? Your asymptotes are x and y axes. So one thing you want to do is remember that you want it to equal 8, so it's going to be negative 4 and negative 2, which will put it in that third quadrant. Those are the 2 types of hyperbolas. So on this one, when you do your 2 numbers that give you 16, your vertice is 2, 4, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you'll have to pick 2 more numbers that give me 16. 8 and 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 8 and 2 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2. Because I'm doing 8 and 2.
Is that what the first and third quadrant?
If it is a pot, it's going to be in this chapter. But if this was negative, it would be in the other two, because it would say what two numbers gives me a negative. But for these, you're going to have them in these quadrants, yes. Because it's good. So then we have here negative 8 and negative 2. All right.